Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on Sri FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at srinews.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. This afternoon, value addition to feature prominently in sweeping reforms to be announced later this afternoon by Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atu as part of measures to revive Ghana's cocoa industry. Also on the program, we'll take you to some cocoa farms at Achim Oda in the eastern region where galamsey activities continue to be a major hindrance to cocoa cultivation. And much later on the program, Ghana Education Service bans 3 senior high schools from undertaking any sporting and curricular activities for 2 years following a rape and stabbing incident during a recent inter-school sporting event. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, sweeping reforms and a bold repositioning of Ghana's cocoa sector towards value addition are expected to form part of a major announcement by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atu later this afternoon. The announcement follows an emergency cabinet meeting convened by President John Mahama amid growing concerns over the state of Ghana's leading foreign exchange earner. At the heart of the crisis is a staggering debt burden of approximately $20.6 billion, coupled with falling global cocoa prices that have created severe cash flow constraints. The situation has led to delayed payments to farmers and mounting anxiety across the sector. Ahead of the anticipated address, the Finance Minister has been engaging key stakeholders as government chart a new path to rescue and revitalize the struggling industry. Speaking to the media after a meeting at the Trade Ministry, Dr. Forson hinted that value addition will be central to efforts aimed at repositioning the cocoa sector for long-term sustainability and growth.
This afternoon at about 1:30 at the Ministry of Finance, we are using the morning to engage key stakeholders. So this is the first of many meetings that we'll have today. And we have successfully engaged cocoa processors, and just to ascertain from them their ability to be able to process cocoa locally to add value and create jobs, where possible, create wealth also for our people. And so you can see the heavyweights with us today, their ability to be able to process significant amount of cocoa. The details will be delivered this afternoon as part of the cocoa sector reforms. Let me also use this opportunity to entreat you that government is going to roll out a comprehensive reform on the cocoa sector. The sector has survived this country for years, created jobs, and has done so what has become more or less has always been our mainstay of the Ghanaian economy. But it's obvious that it's undergoing some challenges and it needs some reforms. And those reforms will be announced today. And I'm sure going forward, all of us will be happy to embrace the new cocoa sector.
And you had the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atu speaking ahead of that announcement of major reforms within the cocoa sector to address the current financial crisis later this afternoon. Meanwhile, the Trade Minister, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, who also addressed journalists before the closed-door meeting, pledged strong collaboration across ministries to drive reforms. She emphasized that the new direction will not only strengthen the cocoa sector but also create jobs for the teeming youth.
The current approach, as far as the ministry and government are concerned, in our aversion to acts of lawlessness and misconduct, then came this other very worrying development where reports again came in from the eastern region indicating that during the Super Zonals sports festival, a young girl was a victim of rape, and another student was a victim of stabbing. I was the one directed by the minister.
We do apologize for that wrong sound there, but let's bring in the Trades Minister, Madam Ofosu-Adjare, speaking to the press earlier this morning.
Today we are here basically in our bid to add value to raw material that we produce in Ghana. It is the only means by which we can create jobs for our teen youth. It is the only way that we can make our economy very strong. We are enjoying a strong city, and by doing this we are even going to enjoy a stronger city. And so today we are here to make sure that we talk to industry, know what their challenges are, and solve them so that they are able to process our cocoa right here in Ghana. Can you imagine what will happen to our employment front if 50% of our cocoa is produced right here and processed right here? I'm sure the answer is what you are thinking. And so today the Minister of Finance is here at the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry so that we engage industry, know their challenges, and make sure that even before the season ends, they are able to upskill, they are able to process more, and the next season will even be better. At the end of the day, issues of industry will be solved, and the agribusiness subsector would have delivered their mandate very well.
And I had that the Trade Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare speaking to the press. The Chief Executive Officer of the Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abe, also spoke to journalists ahead of the meeting, outlining the depth of the challenges confronting the sector and the urgent need for structural reforms.
We are continuing with our series of stakeholder engagements, and the processes are an extremely important part of the value chain. And so, in view of government's strategy with respect to the value addition of cocoa, it was only appropriate that we also met the captains of that sector and to show how serious and committed government is. We had both the finance minister and the minister for trade, agribusiness and industry leading this engagement. The details of the government's direction and policy would be contained in the minister's press briefing later on this afternoon. But just for everybody to know that we intend changing the direction as far as the cocoa industry is concerned. We have over-relied on the export of the raw beans, and so we need to change course if we're really serious about value addition, creation of jobs, getting the farmer better value for their work, and also creating wealth as far as entrepreneurship and business is concerned.
And you had the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board. Now, with major decisions expected to be announced, it's quite relevant to understand the current challenges confronting the cocoa sector. Let me just bring you a bit more in terms of what's happening within the sector. Now, in terms of funding source, of course, there have been loans from international banks, about 1.3 billion US dollars. And also 60%, the current, that's about $500 million received. In terms of cash flow to farmers, Cocoa Board disburses funds to the licensed buying companies directly. Cocoa Board also depends on buyer cash to fund LBCs. And I'm sure you remember that the loans that they were taking from banks, they couldn't get that. The syndicated loans, and that affected cash flow to Cocoa Board. And we're showing you a bit more on our Facebook page, but we'll bring you some more analysis later. And let's stay a bit longer on this issue because some cocoa farmers at Achimda in the eastern region are losing their lands to illegal mining, while limited access to farm inputs and the absence of reimbursement funds continue to worsen their plight. For many of these farmers, survival has become a difficult choice, remaining in a struggling cocoa sector or turn to illegal mining to raise money to reinvest in their cherished farms. Yvonne Nekwe is our correspondent in the region. She joins us live on the phone. Yvonne, what more can you tell us as regards this precarious situation that farmers have had to face?
Hello, Beatrice.
Hi, Yvonne, I can hear you. If you can tell us the plight of farmers in the midst of, having challenges with the cocoa sector and yet also the issues confronting illegal mining as well.
Well, for the eastern region, exactly for the entries that are actually being affected by illegal mining, the cocoa sector seems to be suffering from that particular side because the farmers are losing their land to the illegal mining. Most of these lands do not belong to the farmers. They are leased lands to them. And so the owners, at a point in time, could just take off their lands and give it out to the miners. And so they're losing their lands. If the lands are lost, it means that the cocoa farmers cannot produce on a large scale. Unfortunately, they are struggling already with issues of input and unable to access fertilizer. And so these critical issues are the problem affecting them. Beyond those are the Galamsey areas, are those being affected by sand wheeling as well. So if it is not Galamsey, it is sand wheeling and then input and lack of access to fertilizer. So these are issues cocoa farmers are facing in the eastern region.
But I know that you've gone to some of the farms. If you can paint a picture for us what you observed, particularly on cocoa farms at Achimda.
Right. So on a normal day, when you enter the areas like Achimda and its environs, you're likely to find quite large lands for cocoa farming. But unfortunately, what we saw was that these lands are being taken over by illegal mining. The farmers cannot have the land. Several of these lands, in as much as NIMOs have intervened by taking off the miners, the holes that have been dug are still there. It has not been retained. It means that really the farmers can't go back there because even if the lands are retained, it will take years to ensure that the soil itself and the nutrients are probably of good value before we can even go back to say that the cocoa farmers should plant their cocoa again. These are people who have been in this cocoa business for over 20 years, gotten down from their grandparents and family businesses. Unfortunately, what we saw as well was that it was left with just the aged farmers. The youth are not being attracted to it because if you would go into cocoa farming, invest and not being able to get your returns, it doesn't pay off. And so for them, it's a safer side choosing to venture into illegal mining and probably getting your daily money to survive until when God comes in.
Indeed. Yvonne, I want you to hold on as we listen to some of the farmers you spoke to, because I know there's also another issue in the region you're following. Just hold on and I'll come back to you.
Statement that anybody that
I'm sorry for the poor quality of that sound. We are not able to bring you that. We'll bring you that in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the Ghana Education Service has banned 3 senior high schools for 2 years from organizing, participating in, or spectating at any sporting and co-curricular activities, including quizzes, debate, cadet programs, and entertainment events. The affected schools are Koforidia Senior High Technical School, New Drabbing Senior High School, and New Insutem Senior High Technical School, all in the region. In addition to the ban, each school has been fined 500 Ghana cedis and will be surcharged for any cost arising from damage to property or injury sustained by individuals. Now, the GES statement said that the decision was taken in line with Section 117 Section 217 of the GES Code of Conduct on physical and psychological violence, as well as the Eastern Region Schools and Colleges Sports Association Code of Discipline. Yvonne Nekwe is still on the line with us. Yvonne, just bring us a bit more as regards the background to this.
Well, this is Last week, about between the hours of Wednesday and Friday, the session of the senior high school held its inter-school competition at two venues in the Eastern region. The Koforidua Sports Center, John Senior High School and Major Seminary, and then Koforidua Senior High Residential School as well. All of these three venues had the sporting activities going on concurrently. By Friday thereabouts, we did hear that first incident, the boy was trapped outside the premises of the Koforidua Resource Center. Getting to the end of the exercise, we did also hear that a female student of one of the senior high schools was allegedly gang raped. The police have followed out with the issue and have taken the medical reports from the hospital and have begun prosecution already. In the midst of all this, the sports authorities also witnessed hooliganism and chaos at the center as well. So all of these issues are being investigated. Yesterday, court proceedings were held for the two suspects that was arrested. They are supposed to reappear in court on February 18th. Beyond this, GAS is stamping out its authority, as it says in the statement, that these three schools that they have identified likely were part of the issues that caused the chaos in the sporting activities. And so they've been banned and fined. The question is, does this largely go to deter students from engaging in these activities? These will be largely extended on exactly what the conversation will be like going forward to ensure that we don't have students engaging in these activities again.
Thank you very much, Yvonne Ekwe. She's our Eastern Regional Correspondent. Meanwhile, some two students involved in the rape and stabbing incident have been arrested by the police. Deputy Education Minister Dr. Clement Apak confirmed the arrest in an interview with my colleague Beatrice Adu on the sidelines of the AU Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
The current approach, as far as the ministry and government are concerned, in our aversion to acts of lawlessness and misconduct. Then came this other very worrying development where reports again came in from the Eastern region indicating that during the Super Zonals Sports Festival, a young girl was a victim of rape and another student was a victim of stabbing. I was the one directed by the minister to take it up, and through the Ghana Education Service, I can inform the good people of Ghana that two culprits have since been arrested as being part of the perpetrators of the heinous act of rape, and they are assisting the police in investigation. The young lady herself is receiving counseling, and we are doing our best to ensure that she's properly rehabilitated. Investigations are also ongoing with regards to the case of stabbing. But let me be clear to both students and particularly to parents. Students should be informed and they should know that we will not tolerate any acts of lawlessness and misconduct. And parents have a duty to ensure that their wards conduct themselves properly within the context of being in an academic environment. If they do not caution their wards and look the other way, or they don't pay attention to the conduct of their wards in school, and their wards engage in acts of lawlessness or misconduct, they should expect the most severe sanctions to be meted out to them. We need a disciplined society. We cannot build the Ghana we want. We cannot improve our conditions. We cannot think about a better future if our future leaders are allowed or we look on for them to become indisciplined citizens, acting lawlessly and misconducting themselves. So it is for our collective good to ensure that our students at all levels are disciplined and they act within the context of lawfulness.
And you had the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Clement Apark, speaking on the sidelines of the AU Summit in Addis Ababa. And he spoke earlier to my colleague Martin Esiodidate. Now, 2 young boys in the Saboba district of the northern region have reportedly died from suspected cases of meningitis. This brings the number of meningitis-related deaths across the country to 5. Meningitis, particularly cerebrospinal meningitis, causes annual fatalities with high-risk outbreaks occurring primarily in the northern regions during the dry season. Between 2018 and 2020, 118 deaths were reported, and recent 2025 reports indicate that 5 deaths in 3 regions of the north have also occurred. So far, about 57 suspected cases of meningitis have been recorded across the country, although the majority tested negative. As part of intensified community engagement, the Northern Regional Health Directorate has begun stakeholder engagement. Nadra Mohammed joins us live on the phone with some more. Nadra, tell us about this community engagement and the deaths of the 2 young men. Nadra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, tell us about this community engagement on meningitis and the unfortunate demise of the 2 young men.
Yes, so when we visited Saboba, these 2 young souls, 16-year-old boy and then 6-year-old boy, from a community around Saboba. Earlier on, they were confirmed cases, suspected cases, let me say. Later on, it was confirmed. Unfortunately, they lost their lives in the process. So with this engagement, the Health Directorate took it upon themselves to engage these community members, since it's one of the, when you come to northern region here, the sun is very scorching. And when you move down towards Saboba and Co, it's more serious than Tamale Enclave. So they believe that without education and engagement, people will not really know what is happening. So they took it upon themselves to engage community members. That's within the local district. To engage community members from schools to markets to churches to mosques to know that there's a situation like this and we need to protect ourselves so that we not record cases like that. As part of the engagement, the chief of the community also unveiled himself to be an ambassador for this this engagement, whereby he promised that he's going to hold a deba where they will bring everybody on board, not limiting it to Saboba, but Saboba and its enclave, so that they will talk to these people so that they will get to know what is happening and how to protect and prevent themselves from issues like this to happen again.
All right, let's hear the Director General who spoke earlier, and then I'll come back to you.
We are in the season of meningitis, and we had some cases recorded in Saboba, and that is why we are here. If you do remember very well, in December we sent out an alert to caution everyone within the meningitis belt to be prepared. And in January again we sent out a reminder because this is seasonal. And we do believe that as a country we should do our best not to record deaths because of meningitis, because this has been happening and recurring all the time, and we think that we should be more proactive than ever. So that is why we are here, to make sure that we are really prepared so we don't lose more lives. We have to make sure that we are able to diagnose. We have to make sure that we are able to tell the people to avail themselves as quickly as possible to our health facilities, and that financial situation should not be a barrier, because His Excellency the President through the Minister has requested, and we have distributed the necessary medications needed to treat disease of this nature. And so we distributed to all the meningitis belt, and the hospitals are well equipped to take care of any case.
And you heard the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akuria, commenting on 2 deaths linked to meningitis in the northern region. We stay up north because stakeholders in the Savannah region are led by the regional representative of the Council of State, Alhaji Samson Tingaura, are taking a strong stance against drug abuse and environmental degradation in senior high schools in the region. The campaign is part of a broader effort to address the growing concern and the dangers of substance abuse among the youth in that part of the country and promote environmental protection. Statistics indicate that approximately 50,000 drug users are in Ghana, with 35,000 being students between junior and tertiary levels. Let's take you to Bole now and engage my colleague Christopher Amwako on this rather unfortunate situation. Chris, if you can tell us about the engagement and really how significant it is towards addressing the problem at hand.
Yes, if you look at the Savannah region, it's one of the regions that the incidence of drug and other substance abuse is on the ascendancy. And so in order to be able to address this concern, the Savannah regional representative of the Council of State, together with other stakeholders, have taken a bold step to engaging students, especially at the senior high school level and tertiary levels, to ensure that they give them the relevant information and education regarding the issues of drug abuse and how it will affect their future. This has been welcomed by the students and other stakeholders who matter in the region. As we speak, some senior high schools have already been engaged, and for the Tingaura, his message is simple. The youth are the future leaders of Ghana, and if they should destroy their youth with their youthful age with the drugs, it means that tomorrow Ghana will not have a brighter future because the youth would have all been destroyed by these drugs. Let's take a listen to what Betingaura has been telling these students.
As a parent, it has been a very big source of worry to me that as I walk around town, I see boys and girls who could have equally been my children, in some very bad state of mind. And when you get closer, you realize that it is nothing that is worrying them but drugs. And I believe that it is because of their tender ages. They are unable to determine what is good for them and what is bad. Invariably, after having an interaction with a few of them, I realized that they were on drugs. And it is so painful to see such category of young men and women who are supposed to be the future leaders, get themselves messed up at these tender stages.
And you had the Savannah regional representative on the Council of State, Alhaji Abudu Samson Tingaura, expressing his concern about drug abuse in his region and what to do about it. Earlier you heard our correspondent Christopher Mwako bringing us an update as regards the situation on the ground. Well, that's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com for more news.
This is Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atu Forcing unveils rescue plan for Ghana's cocoa sector this afternoon. We have details. Meanwhile, industry watchers are proposing solutions amid Ghana's cocoa sector payment crisis.
Maintain this type of farm gate price, cocoa board will collapse. Once you list cocoa on the commodities exchange, the arrangers will come, the dealers will come.
We have details, plus construction chamber backs big push to bridge infrastructure gap and cut post-harvest losses. Details of these and more shortly. Well, let's bring you the detail now. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atu Forcing is set to brief the media today, February 12th, to outline emergency measures aimed at stabilizing the cocoa industry and resolving a deepening payment crisis. The address follows a high-stakes cabinet meeting chaired by President John Dramani Mahama on Wednesday. The session was convened to address a liquidity trap that has left thousands of farmers unpaid for beans delivered since November 2025. Key measures expected include immediate release of funds to settle outstanding arrears owed to farmers and licensed buying companies (LBCs), financial restructuring to address Cocoa Board's 32.9 billion cedis debt and negative equity, new policies to boost domestic processing and reduce reliance on volatile raw cocoa exports, and a shift towards more sustainable funding loans after the collapse of traditional syndicated loans. We'll bring you a lot more on that meeting or that address by the Finance Minister subsequently. But still on cocoa, the former General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union, Edward Kariwe, has urged Cocoa Board to consider lowering the farm gate price of cocoa to ensure the regulator can pay farmers for their deliveries. This follows Cocoa Board's inability to make payments since November last year. Kariwe said the problem stems from Cocoa Board's financial constraint and a sharp fall in world cocoa prices, which are currently below farm gate levels. He added that cocoa prices should be adjusted, as has happened with other crops, to protect the long-term sustainability of the sector amid the commodity price slump.
Because you see, what do you want to do? If you maintain this type of farm gate price, what will happen is that Cocoa Board will collapse because you will not have the money to pay them. And once you don't have the money to pay them, it is better they get something done they don't get at all. The beans is there, Cocoa Board is not able to buy, and then you don't get money. But if the price comes down and you have part of the price to have is paid to you, it's better than losing everything. And that is also one of our major problems which we need to correct. And Cocoa Board should take this opportunity with government to correct this type of mentality, that once prices have gone up, they should never come down. If it were not cocoa and it were any other crop, when prices fall down, farmers will have to take it. For instance, maize prices have come down. The maize farmers have to accept it. Rice price has come down. They have to accept it. Any other crop, when the prices come down, you have to accept it.
Edward Kariwe, former General Secretary of the General Agric Workers Union there. To other stories, but still on the cocoa sector, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has urged government to consider listing cocoa on the commodity exchange to help resolve financing and pricing challenges in the sector. This follows Cocoa Board's inability to pay farmers for delivery since November last year, a situation farmers say has harmed their livelihoods. SEC's Deputy Director Mensa Thompson said listing cocoa would increase price transparency for farmers and relieve the government of the burden of buying at predetermined prices despite volatile global markets. Analysts.
The whole idea, one, is to improve activities on the commodities exchange. So only a few crops that are currently being traded, maize, cowpeas, and all those small soya beans and those small things. And we think that the inclusion of vulnerable crops like cocoa would improve, one, the activities on the commodities exchange and help develop the commodities market. But most importantly, on the farmer side, it's going to improve price discovery. Because the whole idea of the exchange is to so that there'll be visibility. Cocoa farmers can have visibility on the prices. Currently, gold if you look at how gold is traded, a miner wakes up every morning, checks the global price of gold, and and everybody knows what gold is trading worldwide. And so based on that, they price their gold, and whatever discount they give you, they decide and they sell their gold. Farmers must have that price discovery, the opportunity to decide on some of these things. Then people say, okay, but Cocoa Board raises syndication on the back of this cocoa, and so how is Cocoa Board going to raise this money? We are saying, look, once you list cocoa on the commodities exchange, the arrangers will come, the dealers will come.
You're also listening to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. And before we go, the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry says government's big push agenda, if properly implemented, could help address the country's food insecurity challenges. Ghana continues to record significant post-harvest losses, largely due to poor road access to farming communities, which makes it difficult to transport produce to market. The Big Push Agenda is a government-led program aimed at accelerating economic growth through large-scale public investment to drive industrialization, create jobs, and stimulate private sector activity. Speaking to 3 Business, the chief executive of the chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, welcomed the initiative, saying improved road infrastructure would enhance access to major food-producing areas and reduce losses within the agric value chain.
We must support the government on that quest because the country, as we speak today, is going to be narrowed in a way of opening up the corridors. So, Ghana Highways Authority, their responsibility is to major on the trunk roads and the bridges. And then the feeder roads also to major on the farm gates, those smaller communities and what have you, so that they can link the farm roads into the smaller cities for the urban roads also to take out from there. So if all these 3 agencies and departments are really proactive working through the big push, I'm telling you, it will be long. You see that number of fresh food will be coming to the market centers for you and I to get proper vegetables, proper fruit, proper food on time basis with that rotten aspect and what have you, so that we can eat and have the energy to work for the growth of the entire country.
You have been listening to the Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Emmanuel Cherry. That will be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Grace Hamuajiman. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon.